The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution, and we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day, and we did it yesterday, and we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, you got hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It was just a couple of people who said, hey, why don't we do this? And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and, if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because, this is a great opportunity. This, 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today, and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with a $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat. Take that, great, Make America Great hats. And the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV, and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have You know, Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, you know, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, is he popular or not kind of stuff, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100? For the year, for this one fund drive? A pizza a month? I mean, please call now, 877-378-8669, and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you, and super pleased to have on the line with us Congressman Mark Pocan. He is the first vice chair of the House Progressive Caucus, or the Congressional Progressive Caucus, I believe it's called now. And his website, Pocan, POCAN.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan. Congressman, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
Oh, and it's great to have you with where we can see you, too. So just to let everybody know, you'll be here for the hour taking phone calls. Our telephone number is 202-808-9925, and you can ask Congressman Pocan pretty much anything you'd like. Congressman, what's your take on what's going on in D.C. right now?
Oh, boy. What a week, from the CBO score coming out on the Republicans' health care bill, which now we have to quit calling a health care bill. This is a tax cut for the wealthiest Americans with a little side of health care. This has very little to do with health care other than taking people away from having access to it. So that was on Monday. Then I think yesterday we saw the court strike down the second Muslim ban, which for many of the same reasons, that it's a targeted, bigoted proposal. And today, this morning, we got the president's skinny budget, which by skinny, I guess, means it makes poor people skinnier because he's cutting most of the programs that actually help the middle class and those striving to be in the middle class, and puts a whole lot of money, $54 billion, into defense. And if you look at the cuts across the board, you're talking 20, 30% cuts on programs that actually benefit real Americans. So once again, the promises from Trump, whether it be that everyone would have health care, proven false, whether it be that this wasn't a ban on one specific religion, again, by the courts, proven false, and that he was going to look out for working families. The people in Wisconsin who voted for him have been left behind again. So it's been quite a week.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. Donald Trump filed for his 2020 campaign on inaugural day, and this has allowed him. He's sending out these emails. I'm on his email list. I sent him $5 back a year and a half ago, just to get on the lists and to get on his donor list. And it's amazing. I mean, the emails that are coming out every couple days talking about all the accomplishments and please give us money and please fill out this survey and give us money. They're really, really doing a good job of marketing him. And then he has this town hall like he had yesterday, or this event that because it's paid for with campaign cash, they're calling it a campaign event, and they only allow people in who are donors to his campaign. So there's no dissent. Whereas all the Republican members of Congress, whenever they try to hold a town hall, they're not doing it that way. And so they get actual constituents rather than just sycophants. Is this a brand new way of doing politics that Trump is doing? I've never seen a politician be able to select his crowds like that.
There's so many things he's doing new, right? I mean, now we have news and fake news, and apparently everything that doesn't say he's wonderful is fake news. We've got facts and we've got alternative facts. As opposed to the alternative reality that he appears to live in. And, now you've got this sort of thing where he's only going to listen to the people who either give him money or already support him because he loves to have his back patted and told how great he is, when in reality he's going to be gutting programs in healthcare for tens of millions of people. So it's a real interesting time to be watching this and watching what the Republicans in Congress doing. Because if they take this Trump care proposal, which again is really nothing more than a tax cut for the wealthiest Americans with a little side of healthcare, but cuts 24 million people off of access to healthcare and makes older Americans pay even more. I mean, this is not good. Even the base doesn't want this. I talked to a Trump supporter the other night who said, I didn't think he was going to do this to my health care. And then they brought up another issue. I go, yeah, he stopped that protection from the Obama administration as well. In the end, they didn't know what they were getting with this because right now he's pretty much governing for the wealthiest and the oligarchs, and the rest of us are kind of left behind.
Yeah. And also he wants to bring back subprime insurance policies.
Well, he wants to bring back a bunch of stupid things. I was just looking at some of the top lines of the budget proposal that came out this morning, and he's adding 20 lawyers to justice just to help him. I think it's to justice, but 20 lawyers he's adding just to help him acquire the land to put his border up, because there's going to be some landowners who don't want a big fence or wall through their land, and now he's got to go after those people in order to put this this little fantasy of his up. There's just many things, Tom, that it's kind of like during the campaign. Remember, any one thing he said would have killed most campaigns along the way, and he just had so many of them you became desensitized. The difference is this time I'm hearing from people back home. I had a town hall in Baraboo, Wisconsin on Monday. People are afraid and fighting back on healthcare and on all the other things he's doing. So people are realizing we're having victories, but they're speaking out, and that's how we're going to win. So I'm very optimistic despite seeing these terrible things introduced every single day, because I know the people aren't with him on this.
Yeah, I was just so struck by the contrast between the Republican town halls where people are yelling at them and the Trump campaign rally yesterday that he held, I think it was in Tennessee, where it was just pure people, just on their feet, for him, and no matter what he said. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us for the hour. He's taking your calls. Our number 202-808-9925. We'll be back with your calls for Congressman Pocan in just a moment. Stick around.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls for the hour. We'll be right back with your phone calls for him. And welcome back. Coco, watching Free Speech TV in Brandon, Florida. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good afternoon. What a pleasure to talk with both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman, both of you. Every day I try and make 2 calls to go into 2 members of Congress. And I say, here's a hot tip for whoever it is. And then I say, Google this, Harvard study, 2009, 45,000 people die prematurely because they cannot afford health care. And then a couple of things. The thought is what I've come to realize is that as learning from you, Tom, for over a year, a full-time, your university, what I come to realize is that this country is not a democracy. It's not a corpocracy. It's not an oligarchy. It's more of fascism. But even worse than that, we have a deathocracy because we put money and power over people dying and suffering in this country. And I really believe that this healthcare issue should be turned into saying it for what it is: death and suffering.
Yeah. Coco, is there a question in there for Congressman Pocan?
So that's it. How can we get this message? I believe that this message of using this death, of how we're destroying people.
Congressman?
Sure. I think the real message for me, and while you're completely right, if people don't have health care, you're going to have more people sick and more people dying, and that's absolutely a part of the argument. But, really, the CBO made it perfectly clear. This is not a health care proposal. This is a proposal to cut taxes on the wealthiest. Over half, or just about half of it, just to the top 1% and 2% of people. And then we're getting a side of healthcare with it. And that healthcare doesn't cover people. You're going to have tens of millions of people losing access to healthcare. So everything you said is correct on that front. But I do think that we really have to let people know they're not finding a replacement for the Affordable Care Act. All they're doing is doing a backdoor way of trying to make sure their wealthy donors get to pay less in taxes, therefore have more money for them. That's the bottom line.
Okay. Congressman, we just have a minute to the break. It would be unfair to put somebody on for that period of time. Do you think that the Democrats are forging a coherent response to this? And if so, why is not the core of that response being a proactive solution? We want John Conyers' H.R. 676. Is it because there's not unanimity among Democrats behind that?
Yeah, I think the thought is right now, the proposal before us, we're trying to fight, and it's a bad proposal, and that's where most of the energy is going. I think, the Progressive Caucus, for example, and others put out positive, proactive proposals. But right now, the energy is around showing people just what this is and isn't. It's not about healthcare. It's about a broken promise, again, by President Trump and by the Republicans. And I think we're trying to really push strongest on that.
Is H.R. 676 in play right now?
Because we don't have the ability to put anything on the floor, it isn't, but it is as part of what we talk about as alternatives.
I see. Okay, we'll be back with Congressman Pocan in just a second. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Congressman Mark Pocan on the line with us, taking your calls. Kamaru in Dayton, Ohio. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Good morning, and thank you for everything that you do, both of you.
Thank you.
I would like to know why the Democratic Party is not speaking up about the cross-check program when they're speaking loudly and clearly about this Russian thing, which did not remove anybody from the voter rolls, but the cross-check program did remove people from the voter rolls, and yet we are hearing nothing about it from the Democratic Party. I want to know why.
Yeah. So first of all, you're wrong in your premise. I mean, a number of us have mentioned this, that a couple dozen states, people have been thrown off the voting rolls. A lot of us are talking about constitutional amendments to guarantee a right to vote. Today, Keith Ellison and Hank Johnson and I introduced a bill to safeguard our electoral systems, including making sure that they're part of the national critical infrastructure, which means we have cyber protections, but also requiring paper ballots and mandatory audits. We're talking about a number of things in that area. But the reason the Russia issue is important is because we have an intelligence report by 17 agencies that said they interfered with our elections and that they wanted Donald Trump to get elected, and they succeeded. And every day we're getting drip, drip, drip of more information about the connection perhaps between the Trump campaign and the Russians during the campaign. So that is important. So I think that's why people want that independent investigation. It's not saying we can't do A because we're doing B, because we're doing A and B and C and D and E and a bunch of other things around this front. And I think it's true. You can't have a democracy unless you've got strong electoral systems. And that's what we're trying to put together right now. But if the mainstream press doesn't pick these stories up, you think we're not saying it. And I think we are trying to cover those issues. And the issue you bring up is very important. If you're taking and purging people off for really very political reasons, because you can't really say someone in Ohio and someone in Idaho because one is Juan Lopez and the other one is Juan Jose Lopez is the same person. You can't say that, but that's what they did and threw people off. We're talking about it, but we're also talking about voting rights and elections that can't be, hacked and a whole lot of other things.
Yeah, I mentioned yesterday that at noon, several members of the House Progressive Caucus, that you're the first vice chair of, and a whole bunch of EPA employees were protesting right in front of the EPA. And basically they were holding a protest. And I said, let's wait and see if MSNBC or CNN picks up any reference to it. Not a peep. And here you got members of Congress joining a protest movement. I guarantee you if it had been 5 members of the Tea Party caucus anywhere in this city protesting with a half a dozen Tea Partiers, it would have been all over network television. How do we change that?
I'm with you, Tom. And how many of those we do a week. We do them around wage theft. We do them around a $15 minimum wage.
Oh, yeah, you guys are doing 2, 3, 4 a week. I get the emails. Nobody knows about it.
Right. So our difficulty, and maybe that's where people need to add to the list after they call their 2 senators and their representative every single day, is they should reach out to some of the major networks and going, hey, how come you didn't cover this? Or why aren't you covering alternative voices in Congress that aren't just the Tea Party? Right. I think we got to figure out how to do that, Tom. But it's probably one of the more frustrating things for me, because I know we organize a lot of activities. And when it doesn't get covered, people think we're not doing it. And yet we are. It's not real unless it gets covered. Right. Yeah. And it's a challenge we face on a regular basis.
Yeah. Tom, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, listening on 1350 AM, you are on the air with Congressman Mark Pocan.
Yes, I'll make a quick statement here. There's been confusion, even with Obamacare, on who was covered, who wasn't. If you worked for a big company, was that Obamacare? And now I'm seeing people who are in the 62 to 64-year-old age group that I heard there's going to be great increases, but yet they work for a large company. I mean, who is this geared toward? There's no more mandates, so people don't have to join, and there's different policy, coverage costs for older people and younger people. So I'm just not sure who's this going to cover? Who's the new health care bill going to cover?
Yeah, Tom, that's a great question. And part of what they want to do is make sure there's confusion around this because, like they're saying, well, you can't trust the CBO on this. Well, they're dead wrong. They're trying to make a comparison on why the Affordable Care Act, some of the numbers weren't right. Well, because some of the states didn't expand Medicaid, and there's other reasons. In this case, there's a couple things, let me say. One is if you get insurance through a private employer, you're impacted. When they do some of the changes that are in their so-called health care bill, you're going to have higher premiums going up, and that's going to affect everybody. So even though 20 million people access the Affordable Care Act, and many of them are going to lose access to their health care insurance, even people who don't get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act were affected by us holding healthcare increases down significantly, and other factors in the Republican bill are going to make people's rates go up. And one of the factors is people who are I think it's 55 and higher, are going to now pay potentially 5 times what others pay, significantly more, which is going to push more people out of healthcare who don't have those employer-provided plans. So everyone will wind up paying more out of this. More people, tens of millions more, won't have access to health care. And that means people will be sicker and more likely to die because they don't have that access. And when they go to the hospitals are going to pick up the costs for people who don't have insurance, which means all of us pick up the cost. So even people who have a private insurance plan through their employer are going to be picking up those costs then through other things, their tax dollars. This is all done so they can provide tax cuts to the wealthiest. So everyone is impacted by this policy. It may not mean everyone's going to lose their insurance. 24 million people are estimated to lose their insurance, but everyone's going to pay more for less health insurance.
And it'll also mean if you're getting insurance through your employer, that your employer can start choosing subprime plans again, and like Walmart did for so many years, giving people basically disaster insurance and calling it health insurance.
And a big part of it is, when you have people getting preventive care, you save dollars to all of us down the road. That was part of came out of this, and it's going to be different under their proposal. But I'll tell you, they had 3 people today in the budget committee, Republicans, vote against it. They could only afford to lose 4 people on the committee for it to not move forward. They're going to have a hard time getting this done. And there are a lot of Senate Republicans who are saying they won't go this way because of the cutbacks on the Medicaid expansion. A lot of people in their states will lose health care. So in the end, this may just be a vote done by the House, and it may just prove that the alleged wonkiness of Paul Ryan in this proposal aren't so much wonky, because there was this really about tax policy rather than health care.
Yeah. Mohammed in Redmond, Washington. You're on the air with Congressman Mark Pocan.
I just had a single comment on the EPA fuel ratings. Thank you for taking my call. So one of the companies that has been complaining about this fuel rating is Chrysler. And this year they had a Chrysler Pacifica minivan, which has a fuel rating of 83 mpgs. So I find it really hard to believe why it would cost another $200 billion to achieve the average fuel rating of around 55 mpgs by 2025. I just think it's just a ploy for profit and not really looking at the overall good for the society.
Congressman?
So I'm having a little bit of a hard time because I'm doing it through a computer.
Mohammed was pointing out that Chrysler's already making cars that exceed the fuel requirements, and that the Trump administration is saying that if the car makers have to meet these requirements, it's going to cost money. I think Progress published a piece this morning saying that, dropping those fuel requirements is going to cost American consumers $89 billion in added gas costs from driving gas guzzlers and things like that. So I guess it depends on how you want to play with the numbers, but we've got a minute until the break here.
No problem. Once any industry, whether it be around the clean air standards for utility companies or around the vehicle auto fuel efficiency standards, once they've gone down this path and invested money, it's going to cost them money to change anything as well. So it's not like they're doing the industries a whole lot of favors when we're all going to pick up other costs or having more pollution out there. I mean, at bare minimum, you'd think clean air and clean water would be in the best interest of everyone. So I think a lot of this is about, again, just trying to help a few industries like the oil industry, for example, which are some of the people that happen to love going to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Yeah, and to fund Republican politicians. I mean, they're so encaptured to the fossil fuel industry, they're willing to lie about climate science.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's been one of the strange things here is that, people, when they bring a snowball on the floor of Congress and they think they're making a point, the point is they took a lot of money from those industries. Yeah, absolutely. That is very much the point. We're talking with Congressman Mark Pocan for the hour. He's taking your calls. He represents Wisconsin's 2nd District and does so brilliantly. He's also the first vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And his website, pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep, as in Representative, Rep Mark, M-A-R-K, Pocan, P-O-C-A-N. We'll be right back with the Congressman.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
More of your calls for Congressman Pocan right after this. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution. And we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day, and we did it yesterday. And we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. You got hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It was just a couple of people who said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because this is a great opportunity. This 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with a $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat. Take that, great, Make America Great hats. And the Free Speech TV hand fan and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, is he popular or not kind of stuff, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100 for the year for this one fund drive? a pizza a month. I mean, please call now, 877-378-8669, and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Congressman Mark Pocan on the line, taking your calls for the hour. Congressman, you're still with us?
I'm here.
Great. Okay, Dave in Columbus, Ohio. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
I have a quick question. I know John Conyers introduced the single-payer strategy. Well, what is the philosophy of the Democrats now? Are they still in that old system where they're taking money from insurance companies and HMOs, or have they liberated themselves and now feel that they don't need that kind of money and they can propose legislation that benefits the country?
Sure, Dave. Well, I mean, there have always been a bunch of us who've been sponsors of that bill and some other measures.Jan Schakowsky has one, and other people that have single-payer options. And I think that this debate will make us talk about this again, as we should, as a public, because what the Republicans are putting forward, really, I think what we found from the CBO score has very little to do with providing health care. In fact, we know 24 million people will lose coverage, and the rest of us will all pay more, especially older Americans, out of what they have. So what we're doing right now is trying to make sure that we're fighting that bill as it's coming forward. But the only way, there's two ways for something to get to the floor of Congress. The 99.999% way, which is the speaker puts it there. And then there's a rarely used thing called a discharge petition, where if you get a majority of Congress, 218 people to sign an official petition, I'll call it, on the floor to make something come up, that would bring a vote up. But to be fair, it's hard to get people the majority, even if they agree with you, to sign that petition. I think it's been used only a handful or two of times since like the 1930s or something. We did it once last session, set up by John Boehner as he left, on one bill. So there are plenty of us who talk about this. We think it's important, especially as you look at the complexity that Republicans are trying to have, because they're really not going to make sure everyone has health insurance. But right now, I think the fight is to try to see if we can defeat this in the House and probably more likely in the Senate.
Tyrone in New York City. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hello. How are you? It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.
And it's also a pleasure to speak to you. I'm wondering, I'm on the phone.
Tyrone, your phone is screwed up. I'm going to put you on hold, and Louise, he's on line 5. If you want to pick that up. Darcy in West Palm Beach, Florida. Darcy, you're on with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, I have a statement and a question. My question, or my statement is, not enough people know what Rubio did to make Obamacare fail. And my question is, who would be worse as president, Trump or Pence?
Wow, I get arsenic or
Old lace. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So let me take one first. I mean, bottom line is, neither of them are someone that I think are fit to be president with the proposals they're putting forward. I just think the unpredictability and the lies that we've seen from President Trump and his administration are so problematic that you can't have someone who 4:30 in the morning tweets something out that could set off an international incident. So there's great concern. So we're not advocating for a President Pence. I'm advocating for, if there really were some problems with the election, how do you actually figure out how to make sure that people can actually get heard in a fair way? And so maybe it means both of them wouldn't be here. Of course, that means Paul Ryan. Now you're going to ask me about Paul Ryan, and I can't put a third poison into my system. So to the first point, I think that we've got a lot to do to make sure that we're moving our ideas forward and realizing that right now it's a tough time on these proposals. So a lot of what we're doing, I guess I'm saying it a little broader, is we're fighting back against the things that they're putting forward, and we can win if people keep doing what they're doing. And that's two things, Tom, and I just think it's worth repeating. Contacting your 2 senators and your member of Congress on a regular basis, and 2, double down with the groups in your local area and nationally that are fighting for the things that you value, that you think are most in jeopardy. And if they have a legal arm, all the better, because that's how we're going to be able to slow down things and stop things if they do pass them. So I'm the part of the Washington arm of the resistance. Everyone else is the resistance in their local communities. But if we all do this together, I think we're going to be in a lot better position.
Tyrone in New York City. You want to try it again?
Yes. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. It's a pleasure to speak to both of you. I was wondering, as a progressive Democrat, why is it we keep allowing these so-called conservative Republicans to cheat and win? And when we get a hold of some kind of leverage, we keep relinquishing it to the people that we know is going to mistreat us and is going to do the most devious things to us. Because what they're doing now, they're just killing us, literally, with their proposals. And I'll wait off the air to hear what you got to say.
Thanks, Tyrone.
So I hope I'm answering it correctly, Tyrone. But I mean, I think the question on how they cheat and win, we do have lots of proposals out there, from everything from the bill we just introduced today to try to make sure that we have more cyber protections around our elections, that we have a paper ballot on every voting machine, that we have random audits of, I think it's 5% of all ballots, to make sure that it's harder for someone to try to do something to affect elections. We have all kinds of measures to make sure that you can vote no matter where you live, because we know in some parts of the country, including unfortunately, my home state of Wisconsin, there have been measures to make it harder for people to be able to vote. We're addressing gerrymandering, where people essentially are politicians picking their voters rather than the other way around. It's supposed to be. And then we're trying to raise the profile of all the things like the interstate cross-check, where people are being dropped off of voting registration polls, to all the other issues that are out there. So we're not allowing, hopefully, anyone to cheat and win, but certainly, we need to fight back on these measures. And this is where the people power works. I mean, I don't care if you're a Democrat, independent, I don't think anyone really, unless you're hyper partisan, wants anyone to be able to cheat in the election cycle. So we just have to keep the pressure on. And like they were going to gut the ethics laws for members of Congress the first day of this session, they didn't, because you all reached out and called people, and we had a big success. We got to keep the people power going.
Rich in Great Falls, Montana. Rich, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I'm a retired Army colonel and rancher up here, and we need soft power funded. I'm ashamed of Rex Tillerson being an Eagle Scout. He's shown no leadership, so we need the soft power. We don't need all the money spent on the military. I got friends in diplomacy. Because if we don't have diplomacy, we get people angry at us. We can't trade. We can't defend ourselves. We can't fight the whole world. But let me get to the point about Meals on Wheels, because I know older Republicans who vote Trump, and then they get Meals on Wheels, but has the GOP figured out what it's going to cost to put everybody into nursing homes and warehouse them if they don't fund Meals on Wheels? Because one person living out in their old home on the farm, if they don't have any food or anybody to help them out, they're going to end up warehoused in a nursing home, or worse, in the cemetery. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich, so much. I mean, so I've gone and delivered Meals on Wheels in my community, and I know the people who are getting them. And generally, it's people of lower incomes. It's people who are homebound, who can't get out otherwise. In some ways, we're helping to check to make sure they're okay while they're living independently still. You're right. Otherwise, you're going to have huge costs in nursing homes. Look, Donald Trump's experience with older Americans having meals are people who are dining at Mar-a-Lago. Sorry. I mean, let's just face it. He doesn't understand. I wish he would go and do what I do, where you actually go and see the people and talk to them in their homes. This is vital for them to be able to live independently. So the fact that they're cutting this in a proposal, that instead they're putting $54 billion into defense, shows that this budget does nothing for the middle class and those aspiring to be in the middle class in this country. There's just cuts after cut after cut that are things that affect real people, and the wealthiest are the ones who get off.
There you go. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls. You can tweet him at Rep Mark Pocan, REPMARKPOCAN, and his website, pocan.house.gov. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan in just a few moments. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your questions for Congressman Pocan right after this. Stick around. And welcome back. Congressman, just so I don't screw this up in the future, I introduced you as the first vice chair of the House Progressive Caucus. It was always, in my mind, the House Progressive Caucus, but recently I got a press release from the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Did they change the name? Is it the same thing? Is there a separate organization?
No, it's just been the name because we've been the CPC since I've been here. So
okay.
Progressive Caucus, maybe at some point before I got here. But just like there's the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, we're the CPC, Congressional Progressive Caucus.
Got it. Okay, thank you. David in Pittsburgh, California. David, you are on the air with Congressman Pocan. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Yeah, I have a three-pronged approach that I think the congressman should do in Congress, and that is stop playing games with the Republicans and dig their heels in and push for single-payer option. Push. Stop playing around with these guys. The other thing is go back to your representative counties and get these kids that have not been pulled into the system of the Democratic Party. Go to the colleges, junior colleges, and high schools and talk to these kids and tell them what you are doing and what is preeminent to do. And the third prong of this is to regulate the insurance industry. Pure, unadulterated regulation of the insurance industry and get them out of the healthcare industry completely. And I'll take your answer offline.
Thank you, David.
Sure. Well, David had a lot, so let me see what I can do quickly on the 3 points. First of all, I guess I would push back a little on the fact that we're playing games with the Republicans because I don't think you're going to have a Democratic vote for this tax bill disguised as healthcare. And we've been fighting it throughout the night on various committees. We're fighting it in our districts. We're going around having town halls. So I don't think you're going to see a single Democrat vote for this thing. And so I think that hopefully your fears will be not found true on that. Secondly, I completely agree. Younger voters, my district has something like 70, 80,000 higher education students, 45,000 alone at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we're doing a town hall on campus over the Easter break to make sure we're reaching out to students on a regular basis. I think you have to show, like Bernie did, you're talking to people about issues that they actually care about. And, I've heard some politicians say the way you reach out to young voters is you buy them pizza. That is about the stupidest thing I have ever heard. And you've got to show the respect and actually talk about issues they care about, which is things like marijuana legalization and making sure that they can get a good paying job once they get out of college, and that we're taking care of the environment because they're thinking about the kids they're going to have someday. We need to have those honest, real conversations. And I think Bernie did the best job I've seen recently of that. And finally, I think as many things as we might want to do, and I definitely would prefer to have a single-payer Medicare for all system, it's not going to pass with this current Congress, and we have to right now just fight what they're putting forward. But we can still talk about and move those issues forward ideologically. It's just not on the floor of Congress. We don't have the ability to.
Amen. Congressman Pocan is with us. He'll be taking your calls right after this. Stick around. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you and Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls. Bob in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hello, Tom, and respect to you, Mark Pocan.
Thank you, Bob.
I wonder if the Democratic Party, and in particular the progressives, will begin to be more outspoken against continuing prohibition on cannabis for farmers to grow hemp and for people to grow their marijuana patches or their indoor grow rooms or whatever is necessary to get on with the business and the industry of cannabis instead of keeping it in prohibition, which is a Nazi sort of a thing to do. I wonder about that.
Okay, let's get to Congressman Pocan's thoughts.
Bob, first of all, I agree with you. I think I'm on every bill we have trying to make sure that we stop this prohibition on marijuana. It's foolish. It's put a lot of people in prison, ruined a lot of people's lives, and it's been a foolish fight that we've had. And I agree with you. I mean, I think this is one of the issues. When I talk to a lot of younger voters, they don't understand why we're not more outspoken on this issue. We recently started a cannabis caucus. So there are a lot of us in Congress joining that. So I do see things moving forward in this area. But I agree. I mean, again, we should be talking to people about what people actually talk about and care about. And this is one of those issues. And for too long, a lot of politicians who've been around for a long time, let's put it politely that way, have been afraid to touch some issues that really show that they're out of touch with where the public's at.
Okay. Aliana, am I saying that right, in Seattle?
Yes, it's Elena. Thank you so much for taking my call. I wanted to ask Congressman about his opinion on the Trump budget plan, specifically about the UN funding. As I understand, he wants to slash by $20 billion. And we have famine in Yemen, Somalia, Nigeria, and South Sudan. So, and also he wants to stop refugees coming from those countries. So, do you think that the Republican Party stands for death and destruction?
Wow, that's a loaded question, Elena. But let me say this. I completely agree with you. What he's doing to both funding for the UN, but also for all the development funding we do around the world. Even our military personnel will tell you that that's an integral part of what we're doing. You can't just have bombs dropped and drones flying over people and think that's international diplomacy. You have to have the ability to help people who need help, and we've got some resources, and that's part of how you are an international citizen. And the fact that he's cutting all these things and then introducing bans on certain types of people, it shows the complete ignorance of having someone with no experience come in, and it's the area I worry about the most. I mean, I think there are some checks and balances on much of the domestic programming, but when it comes to internationally, if he does this helps groups like ISIS recruit people to work with them, because every fear they've been told and lied to by ISIS about the United States comes true when you have a president who does actions and says things like this president does. And then if you cut the funding for the programs we do, that even the military, again, says is an important part of how we reach out to the rest of the world. It's very, I wish it was just ignorance and not malfeasance in this case, I'm terribly concerned like you are. And one last thing, Elena, Pramila Jayapal, you recently sent from Seattle, outstanding progressive. Thank you very much. She's going to have a terrific career here.
Great. Mike in Fairview, Michigan. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thanks, Tom. Mr. Pocan, I live in Michigan. You live in Wisconsin. That $300 million, and now Trump has deducted it down to 10. I can see all the algae blooms just forming now. Is there class action, some sort of, I don't know.
You're talking about his cutting funding for support of the Great Lakes?
The EPA.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, and the cuts in the EPA. Yeah, I hear you, Mike. I mean, the cuts. Those of us who live in the Great Lakes, first of all, we've been doing a lot, I think, to try to protect our water across state lines, trying to work together because it's important. And when they start taking away the funds, specifically, I wish I had the sheet right in front of me on the exact amount of money, but it is a ton of money that's coming out in this area for the cleanup of those lakes. And again, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, your state there could be no better example of what happens when you don't respect air and water than Flint, Michigan. And when you have a governor that, essentially forces a local community to go get polluted water rather than good water, and then they're surprised why there's lead poisoning, and you're going to spend so much more to make up for it. That's what happens when you shortchange the simple cleanup efforts that we've always funded. So I think the cuts that you're talking about are going to have devastating impacts, and that's why we're going to do everything we can to try to fight them. But this is one of the biggest, deepest cuts are in the areas of the environment so that he can fund $54 billion of new defense spending.
Okay. Let's see here. Scott in Canaan, Maine. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan. We're about 3.5 minutes out from the end of this hour.
All right, Tom. Let me get you off speaker.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. You hear me okay?
Yep, just fine.
Okay. I was curious. I'm talking to my Senator King from Maine this morning, and I haven't been able to get a hold of my Representative Pingree. But I was wondering, instead of all the rigmarole that's going on with the health care thing right now, why not just open up Medicare and give the American people the choice? And stop treating us like we're incapable of making a decision on our own. Why not just open that up and let the American people decide what they want? Trump care or, single payer health care. Why is that so hard to do? What's the big deal about it? And it already exists, and just let the American people decide what they want instead of having this other crap ran down our throat. And
Scott, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Scott, you propose a great intellectual argument, right? I think if you allowed people, people would support opening up Medicare for all because it's so much cleaner and easier than most every proposal that we've had in recent history. And look at Canada, look at Europe. It works. It works fine. The difficulty is the reality of Congress. We can't put that even on the floor. So that never would become a political reality that we can get done in the next few years unless you start changing the faces of Congress. So your representative is an outstanding one. Shelley Pingree is a strong advocate for making sure that we've got access to health care for everyone. But there are a lot of people in Congress right now that won't let us. That's why they're in the majority. And I've said this before, Tom, and I'll say it again. Elections have consequences. This is why what's coming up in 2018 is so important. And people keeping up their level of activism is absolutely vital.
Yeah. Congressman, we just have a little less than a minute before the end of the show. Thoughts for our listeners and viewers on this week?
I'll tell you, I think the budget proposal that came out, people are just starting to understand what he's doing. And if you look at it, it is devastating. To take 30% cuts to the EPA, cutting the State Department where we try to do things internationally that are positive things for people, cutting agriculture and labor, those are things that affect real people across America and rural America. This is the reality of what Donald Trump getting elected president means. And we have to continue the pressure, the successes we've had, and double down our efforts with those groups because we're ultimately going to win. But there was a consequence of the last election, and we just have to be fighting hard as the resistance. I'll do my best here in Washington with a lot of others, but we need everyone to keep doing what you're doing. I am very optimistic that we can change this and turn this around.
Yeah, I am too, and I think that there's just a groundswell of outrage right now, and we just have to translate that into people showing up to vote and participating in the Democratic Party. Frankly, it's not going to be all that easy, but if this is the perfect moment, Congressman, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Tom, as always.
It is always a pleasure and an honor to have you with us. Congressman Mark Pocan, you can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan, as in Representative Mark Pocan. His website is pocan.house.gov. Thank you, Congressman. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Here with your World in 2 Minutes.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution, and we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day, and we did it yesterday, and we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. You got, hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It was just a couple of people who said, hey, why don't we do this? And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and, if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because, this is a great opportunity. This, 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today, and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with a $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat. Take that, great, Make America Great hats. And the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV, and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have You know, Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, you know, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, is he popular or not kind of stuff, you know, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100 for the year for this one fund drive? You know, a pizza a month? I mean, please call now, 877-378-8669, and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Boy, what a day. A lot going on. The morally obscene Trump budget. I think this is probably the best way to describe it. It's a headline from Deirdre Fulton's piece over in Common Dreams. Morally obscene Trump budget proposal stands to make America cruel again. Slashing Meals on Wheels, Amtrak, teacher training, after-school programs, summer educational programs, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Appalachian Regional Commission, the National Institutes of Health. Yes, that's who pays for developing vaccines and new drugs. No, the drug companies don't pay for it. We do. And then we grant them the patents, and then they make profits. The Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. Meanwhile, you know, more money for military spending, more money for ICE, and more money for charter and private schools, religious schools. And the document has been variously denounced as an all-out assault on our planet, as dirty and dangerous, as cruel, and as unacceptable. Senator Bernie Sanders said President Trump's budget is morally obscene and bad economic policy. It will cause devastating pain to the very people Trump promised to help during the campaign. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when 43 million Americans are living in poverty and half of older Americans have no retirement savings whatsoever, we should not slash programs that senior citizens, children, and working people rely on in order to provide a massive increase in spending to the military-industrial complex. Trump's priorities are exactly the opposite of where we should be heading as a nation. Very well said. Very well said. This is, in the bizarre Republican stories, 8 states now, 8 states are proposing laws that would allow teachers to teach things that are not true to their students. And it requires a law because there's this assumption that if your kid is going to school, he or she is learning stuff that's actually factual. But in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Oklahoma, and South Dakota, they are all in the process, and Texas, in the process of making it legal for teachers to teach creationism and climate skepticism.
This is bizarre. I mean, to say, we're just, we don't teach creationism in our schools because it's religion. And, it's like, gee, what a novel idea. But, there is this separation of church and state. It's laid out in a couple of different places in the Constitution, and it's been at law in the United States for forever. Although we have danced all over it and violated it many times, this is supposed to be a core principle. Dan Balls over at the Washington Post wrote a fascinating piece. It was published today. The headline, and just, I've been saying now for a month or so, as long as Trump has been, president, I've been saying what it sure looks to me like what we're seeing is Ronald Reagan, 1981, all over again. Comes into power with all these promises about I'm here for the working guy, and in fact, the working guys believe those things. He comes to power on the back of racism, comes to power on the back of basically naked populism, and makes a bunch of promises that he has no intention of keeping, and basically lies to the Republican base, and they believe it. And it takes, in some cases, 10 or 20 years for these lies to be exposed. Keep in mind, the most criminal presidential executive administration in the history of the United States was the Reagan administration. More people in the Reagan, people think it was Nixon. No, it was Reagan. More people in the Reagan administration were convicted of crimes, sent to prison for crimes, than in any other administration in the history of the United States. And I fully expect to see the same thing happening here. But Dan Balls, the headline is, in Trump's blueprint to reorder the federal government, echoes of Reagan 81. So finally, others in the media are saying what I've been saying for months now, that this was Reagan's agenda. Destroy the beast, starve the beast, and then destroy the beast. Meanwhile, our Attorney General, the wonderful Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III of Alabama, says, and I quote, "I am astonished to hear people suggest that we can solve our heroin crisis by legalizing marijuana so people can trade one life-wrecking dependency for another that's only slightly less awful." Right. Now, the fact of the matter is that in those states that have medical marijuana, opiate addiction and deaths from opiates are going down. Somebody needs to tell our Attorney General that nobody has ever died from marijuana. Nobody has ever died from a marijuana overdose. Nobody has ever died of marijuana withdrawal. There is no marijuana withdrawal. Marijuana is less habit-forming and less addictive than caffeine. And yet, Jeff Sessions wants to keep it illegal because, hey, it's a great tool, as Richard Nixon pointed out. It's a great tool to use against your political opponents, particularly if they are not lily white. Although, Nixon used it against the anti-war hippies very effectively, used the marijuana laws against them and the heroin laws against African Americans and the cocaine laws. And at the same time that it was alleged that the CIA was feeding those powdered drugs back into our inner cities. And Reagan was certainly, apparently bringing that stuff back from south of the border. So, amazing stuff. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to share with you here before we pick up your phone calls. The headline, Joe Rahm is a PhD. I think he's a physicist. He certainly understands climate science. And he's the he's a founding editor and the science blogger over at thinkprogress.org. And the headline and subhead pretty much say it all. Trump fuel economy rollback will kill jobs and cost each car buyer $1,650. And then the subhead, it would also boost U.S. oil use 1.2 billion barrels while reducing the car industry's global competitiveness. And, this pretty much sums it up. Trump went to Detroit yesterday, and he's going to undo efficiency gains that will provide consumers $98 billion in total net benefits primarily from reduced fuel use. Individual car buyers would lose a net savings of $1,650, even after accounting for higher vehicle costs, according to the EPA. Of course, there won't be any EPA under Trump, so nobody to point this out, right? We'll be back with your calls right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with your calls right after this. Stick around. And welcome back, Rick in Seattle. Hey, Rick, what's on your mind today?
Hi, I'm a first-time caller, so I'm a little bit nervous. But while you were speaking to the congressman, I was wondering, couldn't we challenge the building of the wall against Mexico on the grounds of racism against one race? We don't build a wall against Canada. Isn't that racist against one race?
Well, we haven't seen 11 million Canadians come into the United States to work without documentation. So I don't disagree with you, Rick, that there's a big racist element to this, and that a lot of it is dog whistle politics, and that the proof of that is that Donald Trump is not proposing that wealthy white employers who bring undocumented workers into this country should go to jail, which is the law, by the way. Instead, he is ignoring that, as Reagan did, as Bush did, and and frankly, as Clinton and Obama did, and allowing those wealthy white employers to continue hiring people. And that's how you turn off the magnet, as it were. But Trump is one of those people. He brings Europeans in to work at Mar-a-Lago every year.
But we are putting this in the budget to build this wall. It just seems like we could challenge it in the Supreme Court on the grounds that it's racist.
Rick, it would only work. You could only do that if you could demonstrate that it harmed people of another race who were U.S. citizens. The protections, based on race, I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, that the protections based on race, extend. Because they're not in, well, arguably they are in the Constitution, but that's really just voting rights, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. So I don't think that there's, I don't think it would work, Rick. If you could do the religion, that's in the Constitution, but race is not. The founders were very careful not to put race in the Constitution because of the whole slavery thing,
You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So,
right. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot for the call, Rick. It's great to hear from you. Mary in Seattle. Hey, Mary, what's on your mind?
Tom, thanks for taking my call. I love your show. And a while back, I heard that you said that you had taken all your money out of the stock market, and I want to do that too. And I know that you don't give financial advice, but you mentioned a resource, and I wrote it down, and I lost it.
Oh, the newsletter, the investment newsletter?
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to give me, I'll take.
They actually are one of the underwriters for our TV show. You'll see them occasionally in an ad here on the TV show. And it's the Aden Forecast, ADEN Forecast. And it's put together by two sisters, Pam and Marianne Aden. They both live down in Costa Rica, although they're American citizens. And they've been doing this newsletter for decades. And Louise and I have subscribed to it for, at least 15 years. And they don't always get it right, but 9 times out of 10 they do. And in fact, actually about 2 months ago, they said, okay, the stock market's going to start going back up again. Get your money out of bonds and put it in the stock market. And I just got it out of bonds and put it in cash. And looking back, I should have followed their advice. But that's the newsletter. You can search for it online. I think it's just AdenForecast.com. There's a special page that we advertise on Free Speech TV that has a jump page to it. But Mary, thanks a lot for the call, and good luck. Say hi to Pam and Marianne if you talk to them.
This year's election results have generated fear sadness, and despair.
In the days and months ahead,
our democracy may face a crisis of historic proportions.
But there is good news.
There is good news.
There is good news. Thousands of people are stepping forward in solidarity, resistance,
and resolve.
We join them.
We join them.
We join them.
In standing with the most vulnerable communities among us.
Those most likely to be targeted by new restrictions and policies.
We will tell their stories here.
Here.
Here on Free Speech TV.
We will lift their voices here.
Here on Free Speech TV.
In the difficult times ahead, know that we will be with you 24 hours a day.
Every day.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
There are millions of us.
Raising our voices and hearts together as one.
We've got your back.
We got your back.
Free Speech TV's got your back.
The revolution is in progress.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and David in Woodland Hills, California. Hey, David, what's on your mind?
Here's how to get the word out about interstate cross-check and income inequality. We, all of us, and I wish the congressman were still here because he could do this too every time he's on a show. We need to relentlessly call up, write, even picket conservative talk shows, mainstream newspapers, mainstream TV news, our congressmen and senators, and continually ask them, why do conservatives hate the Constitution and free elections? And by the Constitution, we mean promote the general welfare. And by free elections, we mean interstate cross-check and paper ballots. They can have all of the interstate cross-check they want if they include Social Security numbers and middle names. Anything less, and no paper ballots, is totalitarian voter suppression.
Yeah, it's election rigging. I think that we should go back to the old term that everybody used, election rigging, and that's exactly what it is. And I completely agree with you, David. I really do. And Congressman Pocan gets it. It's just but I agree with you. I think the Democratic Party needs to be nailing this thing to the floor. David, thank you for the call. Kevin in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, Kevin, what's on your mind?
Well, actually, the same thing, Tom. I was wondering if they were subject to FOIA requests for those lists, and I'm glad we're getting.
It's not a government agency, so they're not. They're doing this as a private effort, funded by the Koch network, I believe, and this is the Attorney General of Kansas put this thing together, but whether. But I'm pretty sure that he's doing this as a whole separate thing, so to stay free of FOIA.
And it seems to me that there has to be collusion with county clerks up and down these 27 states that, similar to maybe Clay County in Kentucky, that, these people aren't working in our best interest, and they're all Koch brothers operatives, which is basically Russian money, because that's what the Koch brothers represent. So that's the original sin, is the refineries they built that financed their whole thing.
If you're talking about Fred Koch's relationship with that was actually the Soviets, not even the Russians. That was Joe Stalin. But yeah, Kevin, point made, and I get it. I don't disagree. Rod in Eugene, Oregon. Hey, Rod, what's on your mind today?
Hi, can you hear?
Yeah, just fine. Go for it.
Hello?
You're on the air, Rod.
Oh, do you see the oil shale in the Dakotas?
What about
Hello? It? Well, I just wondered if you knew about the oil shale that's in the Dakotas. That's why they want their pipeline.
Oh yeah, they're pumping oil out of there like crazy, and they want their pipeline. Right now, they've got these oil trains that seem to explode with some regularity, at least during the summer.
I hadn't heard it from anybody. I just know somebody that has tar sands or oil shale in the Dakotas.
Yeah. The two major new sources, well, the three, for carbon, you've got fracking, of course, producing natural gas. But fracking's also being used to create oil, which is coming out of the Bakken field in the Dakotas. And then you've got, of course, the tar sands in Canada, and they're shipping that poison down here now, too. through TransCanada, thanks to Donald Trump. Rod, thanks for the call. Tom in Bridgeview, Illinois. Hey, Tom, what's up? Yep, Tom. Yeah. I think Tom was trying to take us off speakerphone and ended up hanging up. Danette in Hinesville, Georgia. Hey, Danette, what's on your mind today?
Hey there. I caught the tail end of your conversation with Congressman Pocan, and I wondered, did you guys talk about the recent elections that have taken place, and there's only been 29% participation, 30% participation? Have you talked about that?
We did not.
Okay. So Samantha Bee did a bit on it, like a segment on it. What is today? Today is the 16th. So she did it last night, either last night or the night before. She did commentary on how she's proud of the resistance for marching, but nobody's voting.
Right.
And that's the thing. So resistance has to be that when there's a special election in your district and you go vote, even if it's for school board or county commissioner or whatever it is. And right now, the people that were in Congress that are now part of Trump's cabinet are having those cities and, those states, they're replacing those legislators. They were senators or congressmen. So we need to know people in those areas, in those states, like there's a special election taking place in Georgia.
Right, to replace Tom Price. Yep.
But I know that, so we've got to vote, people. Marching makes no difference. The difference between us and the Tea Party, they voted.
Yeah, and there's one, I think, in Montana. Isn't that where Ryan Zinke is from? I'm pretty sure. So, yes, there are several special elections coming up.
Greg Palast has the list, the partial list for cross-check.
Yeah.
So you might want to, I don't know if you've had him on your show.
Oh,
and I don't know
every
if the
few
list
weeks.
is on his website, but it's gregpalast.com.
Yeah.
He's got part of that list for cross-check for that previous caller that was asking about the list.
Yeah. Okay, great. Danette, thank you very much. Lyle, I don't have a city for you, but we've got a minute to the break. You want to drop in a quick one here?
Hi, Tom. Hey, how are you today?
Good.
Great. Hey, I have a question. We were talking about all these states that are creating all these bills to for teachers to be able to teach what they want.
Right.
It seems like it's like these states are kind of bucking the federal government and their rules and regulations. So why isn't it? What is your opinion on states that are wanting to secede from the union? In California. And there's a bill that's trying to come up.
Yeah.
We want to leave. And in Texas, they've been trying to do it for so long.
Well, Texas hasn't been seriously trying to do it. They just talk about it from time to time. The California, the Cal exit thing looks like, it might actually turn into something serious, probably provoked by Trump, although I suspect that it's going to be more of a movement in outrage and name only. So we'll see. Lyle, I just don't know. Thanks a lot for the call. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM. We'll be back with more of your calls, and we'll be getting to Talk Media News, too, in the next half hour right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
8 minutes after the hour, we'll be picking up more of your calls, and I've got some more news to share with you after the bottom of the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution. And we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day. And we did it yesterday. And we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. You got, hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It's just a couple of people who said, hey, why don't we do this? And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and, if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because, this is a great opportunity. This, 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with a $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get The Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, take that, great, Make America Great hats, and the Free Speech TV hand fan, and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV, and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, is he popular or not kind of stuff, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100? For the year, for this one fund drive? A pizza a month? I mean, please, call now, 877-378-8669. and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much.
Hey, want to hear that clip again? Subscribe to the Thom Hartmann Program on YouTube to see all your favorite show highlights. All the important stories we cover and the issues we care about are at HartmannReport.com. Members of our community can comment and join the conversation
for free and no advertising. I mean, we're having a great time over at HartmannReport.com. It's anyhow. I just got an email from Donald Trump, from Trump headquarters. Again, Trump is doing all this stuff like his whatever you call that thing last night, his rally last night. He's doing it with campaign money. So he's actually running for president in 2020 right now. Last night, what we saw was a campaign event. And that's how he was able to say, no, you cannot come in here unless you have donated money to our campaign. It was essentially put together as a fundraiser. And so, you know, you donate money to the campaign, you get to go in. And I'm wondering why the television networks are covering a campaign fundraiser and not calling it that, and causing it to look to Americans all across the United States like nobody's pushing back on Donald Trump, nobody's heckling Donald Trump, nobody's talking back to him the way they are all these Republicans in their town halls. Why? Because this isn't a town hall, it's a campaign event. And because it's a campaign event, they can keep people out who are not donors to the campaign. He's not there in his capacity as president. He's there in his capacity as candidate. So why is the media covering it? Meanwhile, I got this email. It says, Thomas, this morning, President Trump released the America First budget, which promises to make our nation a better, safer, and stronger place for generations to come. Here's how he will do that. Department of Veterans Affairs, 10.2% increase in funding. Department of Defense, 10% increase in funding. Department of Homeland Security, 7.3% increase in funding. Environmental Protection Agency, a 31% cut in funding. President Trump is delivering on promises to strengthen our military, build a wall securing our country, and provide more resources for our veterans who risk their lives to protect us while cutting billions from liberal programs. Yet this, people who want clean air and clean water are liberals. Conservatives don't care about that stuff. They're just fine to suck on the tailpipe of a diesel truck. No problem, right? Conservatives can do that and just walk away. President Trump continues, Thomas, the fake news and Democrats in Congress will try to stop this budget every step of the way, which is why your support is so important to the president right now. This is a budget for the American people, and without your help, we won't be able to cut through the noise. We need your help to support a budget that puts America first. Please click here. You click there, and boom, they're asking you for money. This is all campaigning stuff. Why is it being treated as if it's anything other than that? I don't get it. It's pretty startling. Anyhow, Sam in Orange, Texas. Hey, Sam, what's on your mind today? Sam?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Sam. What's up?
You said something a while ago about there not being an EPA anymore. My idea is that all the employees that are going to be let go when they cut 37% out of their budget, and the ones that have been let go, and in all of the departments, the State Department, all these former employees should network and use their contacts that are still in the beast and keep us informed as to what this nefarious administration has planned.
Yeah, some of them are doing that. I mean, there's an account, I think it's Alt EPA, and most of these agencies have an Alt or a, what's the word? Rogue, yeah, either alt or rogue are the two words that are typically used for Twitter accounts being run by disgruntled employees or former employees, and some of them are pretty startling. So, Sam, I'd recommend you check that out. But yeah, I suspect that's already happening, and hopefully they'll move a lot of that organization into the Democratic Party. Sam, thanks a lot for the call. Mark in San Juan Capistrano, California. Hey, Mark, what's on your mind today?
Hey, I just wanted to get your take on the reduction for the Meals on Wheels and the new budget. I was just reading a Snopes article that had that as mostly false. So I just want to get your take on that.
That had that what?
It had it as mostly false, that claim.
Oh, the federal funding for Meals on Wheels has been zeroed out in the Trump budget. That doesn't kill Meals on Wheels. The agency still gets funding from state and county offices, and it also gets money from private fundraisers. But it will cut Meals on Wheels by somewhere in the neighborhood of half, and maybe a lot more than that. So, and most of the people that Meals on Wheels serves are people who are housebound and, you know, can't get out otherwise. Typically, they're disabled or they're very sick or they're very elderly. And so what will happen is those people will go from getting, say, $10 a day worth of benefits from Meals on Wheels to going full-on Medicaid and into nursing homes where they're getting $100 or $500 a day worth of benefits that we're having to pay for. So killing Meals on Wheels, I mean, Meals on Wheels keeps people in their homes. Killing Meals on Wheels is going to, or even diminishing Meals on Wheels, which is what the proposal is going to lead to a radical increase in the money that all of the rest of us pay for Medicaid, for nursing homes and institutionalization. And that's going to be a disaster, Mark. It's just going to be an absolute disaster. These guys don't think this stuff through. They're just going for the stuff that they can turn into a political bumper sticker. Mark, thanks for the call. Antoine in Chicago. Hey, Antoine, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Mark, thank you. First-time caller, one of my fellow truckers turned me on to you, man, and you're a wealth of information.
Thank you.
I was just really listening to you about the EPA, and I read one of the books you recommended, Strangers in Their Own Land, and now I'm really making the connections now with the oil industry in reference to that book, wealth of information and connecting the dots. You know, I really do recommend it. And another book you recommend, Deer Hunting with Jesus. I think that's the next one I'm about to tackle. But I'm just really astonished at the level of cuts for the EPA, and I'm just want to see how people are going to react.
Yeah,
hopefully we can get some uprising out here, because that is just ridiculous. I would think they would take Flint into consideration and not do something like that. I'm just really astonished by the level.
They're dancing. I mean, the people that made Donald Trump president, the Koch network didn't spend money specifically on Trump's election, but they dropped $700, 800, maybe more, $900 million into state races, turning out the Republican vote. And of course, you turn out the Republican vote, and what are those people going to do? They're going to vote for the Republican at the top of the ticket. So, you know, without that money from the Koch network, frankly, I believe that not only would Donald Trump not be president, but you would not have a Republican House or Senate right now. And the Koch network, of course, you know, derives a lot of its wealth out of Koch Industries. And Koch Industries, of course, is one of our largest fossil fuel companies and one of the largest polluters in the United States through the various companies associated with it. So what a surprise that they don't like the EPA. And that, you know, that just needs to be made clear. Although you're not going to find it on any conservative websites, all of them have taken to, if you even mention the Koch brothers, they will ban you from their comment section of the websites, which is pretty amazing. Antoine, thanks for making a very good point. Kathleen in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, Kathleen, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. I've been listening to you for more than 10 years, and I really get the Thom Hartmann University.
Thank you.
And also, I'm a supporter of Free Speech TV.
Great.
I just returned from Florida, where I visited my mother, who is elderly and sits in front of the TV and will not watch anything except for Fox. And it's a pretty toxic environment. But the point I'm making is she believes in all the cuts. And I said, Medicare stops and Medicaid takes over when you go into a nursing home. And the argument ensued, and I gave up. But I learned that from you, and I didn't do my research. Is that the case?
Yeah. Yeah, if you need to go into a nursing home, Medicare doesn't pay for it, Medicaid does. But first you have to take yourself down to the point where you've got, I think it's fewer than $2,000 in net assets. I mean, you basically have to bankrupt yourself. You've got to pay off doctors and hospitals. This is just another, bleed the middle class dry thing. And if you tried to divest your resources, if your mother tried to divest her resources by giving them to you, for example, you can give, I think it's $15,000 a year to family members tax-free. If she were to start transferring her wealth to you, if that is done within 2 years of the time that she goes into nursing home on Medicaid, then Medicaid will claw that money back from you. So it's not, all friendly face, but it is the way that millions of Americans are funding their final years. And this Republican budget puts it all at risk. You're spot on. Kathleen, we got to get into a break here so that we can check in with Talk Media News. Kathleen, thanks for the call. And good luck with your mother. You might want to watch the movie The Brainwashing of My Dad, which is a story about a woman whose father went through what your mother's going through, started watching Fox News, became more and more withdrawn, became more and more paranoid. It is literally a cult. Fox News and right-wing hate radio, this is a cult. And the only way to deal with it is as such. People need to be deprogrammed.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stick around. And welcome back. Loretta, watching Free Speech TV in New Glarus, Wisconsin. Am I saying that right, Loretta?
You sure are.
Great. What's on your mind today?
Well, how secure or how volatile do you think Social Security disability is going to be? I just finally got on it, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
As far as my medications aren't covered, it's just weird.
Yeah. I don't know, Loretta, and it's a question that we should probably get Alex on the program to talk about. But my understanding is that Social Security, which would include Social Security disability, is solid right now. If we lift the cap on payroll deductions, so that billionaires and even millionaires are, people with a multi-million-dollar annual income are paying the same percentage into Social Security that all the rest of us are, then both Social Security and Social Security disability would be solvent forever. And they could expand Social Security disability to do things like pay for medications. So, yeah, I think the average to get on Social Security disability right now is 2 years. That's pretty mind-boggling for somebody who's, severely disabled. So, we need to strengthen these programs rather than cut them.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Loretta. Yeah, Loretta, thank you for the call. It's great to hear from you. Ellen in Ambrose, North Dakota. Hey, Ellen, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Tom, you're a treasure and brilliant, and I think you should run for president.
Well, thank you, Ellen.
I watched Standing Rock demonstration in Washington, D.C. last night, and they were hollering, keep it in the ground, keep it in the ground. And I do agree that oil and et cetera, everything against it. But what's really important is we stopped all the traffic, all the cars right now, and everything that's airplanes, everything, but still all the plastic in the world would be using oil. Plastic takes oil. Yeah. The TV I'm watching you on is plastic. The phone I'm talking to you on is plastic, et cetera, and so forth. The clothes we wear are plastic, polyester, nylon, et cetera. The garbage bags I use at work are plastic. I mean, it's just unbelievable amounts of plastic. And so how is that going to be dealt with?
Well,
if we keep it in the ground.
The percentage of oil that we use to make plastic is and by the way, chemicals and pharmaceuticals and a lot of the stuff that ends up in our food supply, frankly, and the fertilizer's made out of petroleum also. But all of those things in aggregate don't amount to a huge percentage. I'm sorry, I don't remember the percentage off the top of my head, but my recollection is it's less than 5%. So and we're developing alternatives for all those things. that you can now buy plastics that are made entirely out of corn, for example, that are entirely made out of vegetation, that are over the long term biodegradable, and that's good stuff. And we need to be moving more and more in that direction. So, Ellen, I don't think that getting off oil means that we have to, go to the Stone Age, or that we're going to lose our toys or anything like that. And also, when you put oil into plastic, you relatively stabilize the carbon in it, at least for some, decades or centuries. And so it's not so much a greenhouse gas problem either. So, looking at it in that way, I'd say, that qualifies for the gradual weaning off process. Ellen, thank you for the call. Excellent point. Excellent point. A lot of people don't think about those things. We'll be back. Victoria Jones with Talk Media News is going to be with us in just a second. Stick around. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Let's check in with Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world today. This report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com. And on the line with us is Victoria Jones. Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Tom.
So what's going on in the world today?
Well, a number of things, as I'm sure you know. It's been a very busy week. And just this morning, the Trump administration brought out its budget proposal. This is the first budget proposal. There will be a more fleshed-out budget proposal coming out in the next month or so. And it's obviously getting hammered by Democrats for the cuts that it has to domestic programs. So not only by Democrats, but also by Republicans. So I'll just mention a couple of the things. I'm sure you've been talking about some of them. Nancy Pelosi, the House Democratic leader, said, I don't see how this budget can survive the light of day. It's really a slap in the face of the future. This is all about a philosophical distrust of the role of the federal government in any way of meeting the needs of the American people, she says, is what it's about.
Yep, and she's right.
So that's what she says it's about. Senator Dean Heller, Republican of Nevada, is slamming the budget proposal to restart the planning process for a nuclear waste repository in Nevada. Now, he's up for re-election next year in what's likely to be one of the most competitive Senate seats in the country. But his comments reflect a long-held bipartisan view of state leaders in Nevada who don't want the Yucca Mountain site built. And he said in a statement today, as has been stated in the past, Yucca is dead, and this reckless proposal will not revive it. Washington needs to understand what Nevada has been saying for years. We will not be the nation's nuclear waste dump. This project was ill-conceived from the beginning and has already flushed billions of taxpayer dollars down the drain.
Wow, that's remarkable. I mean, it used to be Harry Reid who was holding that line, and now it was a Democrat, and now it's Dean Heller, the Republican. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who's the freshman Democratic senator, she also called it unacceptable. And Representative Dana Titus, Democrat, also chimed in as well. So, so they're unanimous on that. Also, 3 airport security programs implemented after the 9/11 terrorist attacks would get the axe. All 3 of them, the Trump administration says, are basically redundant or are not working, but they're all programs that would save about $80 million annually, according to the proposal. But that one of them, for example, is where teams sweep transit hubs and often using bomb-sniffing dogs, and designed to serve as a visible security presence around airports, train stations, and ports. But Trump's proposal says the program achieves few federal law enforcement priorities. So that's going on. Meanwhile, on Obamacare, this is Obamacare repeal, obviously. The Republican House bill was in the Budget Committee, the House Budget Committee today, and it wasn't clear whether it was going to make it out because there were a number of members of the hardline House Freedom Caucus on that committee. We didn't know which way they were going to vote.
And they can only lose 4 votes, right?
They
the Republicans.
Lost three.
Right.
So it made it out 19 to 17. But it goes to the House Rules Committee next, and they could make some amendments to appease conservatives and appease moderates. So that's going to be interesting. Now, 538, which, as you know, is the website that does betting on sort of betting really, but polling on sports and also on elections, is basically saying that it's really close in the House as to whether they've got the votes.
But in the Senate, I don't think they do they?
Right. They probably don't have the votes in the Senate, but they're saying it's extremely close in the House, and nobody really knows if they've got the votes because they don't know how some of these people are going to go.
So isn't that Kevin McCarthy's job to whip the Republicans?
It is Kevin McCarthy's job to whip the Republicans. That's correct.
He's apparently not doing it?
I think some of these people may be unwhippable at this point because they know there's more negotiating to be done.
Right. Yeah, and who wants to be on record taking a vote that most people disagree with when there's, if you're going to do it to pass legislation that's going to benefit, some health insurance companies who are going to give you millions of dollars in campaign contributions, go for it. But if you're voting on a piece of legislation that's going to go nowhere and it's just going to hurt your reputation, why?
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
As you probably know, a second federal judge this morning, this one in Maryland, also put a halt to President Trump's second Muslim travel ban. Yesterday, a federal judge in Hawaii put a hold on this. Is President
Well, you've got 2 federal courts now that have said that it is functionally a Muslim ban, so I think you can start calling it that. If you've got 2 judges who've said it is.
That's correct. In fact, Derek Watson, yesterday, the Hawaii judge, in a blistering opinion, freezing the ban, said statements by Trump and his senior advisors were what called its legality into question. And then Trump went to a Nashville rally last night and said that we needed to go back to his first travel ban and go all the way, which might make any appeal more tricky for him.
I have a question for you, Victoria. Last night I was watching that and I was going, why is Trump not getting heckled the way that congressmen do? And started poking around and discovered that, in fact, this was a campaign event for the 2020 presidential campaign. It was paid for by Trump's 2020 presidential campaign funds. And because it was a campaign event rather than an open to the public presidential event, they were able to say, basically, you can only get in if you've got a ticket in advance, and they were only giving tickets to people who were donors to the presidential campaign. So they knew that they were going to have a good audience. This was a campaign event. It was not, it was not anything else. Why does the media cover campaign events?
I think they maybe. I'm thinking on the fly now. I think partly because it's television. I think
it gets
also,
ratings.
I don't know that they're consciously thinking it's ratings, but I think that they're now thinking that it's the president so that there could be news.
Well, why don't they point out that, number one, this is a campaign event with a highly selectively picked audience, and the audience does not in any way reflect the cross-section of Americans the way that Trump is pretending they do to create a phony sense of consensus around his positions.
They should, particularly since he did not do well in Nashville. The city. He did not do well in voting in Nashville. I know that.
He would have had arguably a majority of people there, shouting him down. But the way that he did it, I mean, anyhow, Victoria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Victoria Jones. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Here with your world in 2 minutes.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday, we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution. And we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day. And we did it yesterday. And we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. You got, hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It's just a couple of people who said, hey, why don't we do this? And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and, if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because, this is a great opportunity. This, 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today, and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with a $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat. Take that, great, Make America Great hats. And the Free Speech TV hand fan and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, Is he popular or not kind of stuff, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100? For the year, for this one fund drive? A pizza a month? I mean, please call now, 877-378-8669, and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and I'm super happy to have with us on the line Katrina vanden Heuvel, the editor and publisher of The Nation magazine. TheNation.com is the website. You can tweet her at The Nation or at Katrina Nation. And The Nation has a new issue out that is entirely themed around the media. Katrina, welcome back to the program here.
Thank you, Tom.
Glad to have you with us. So tell us about the state of the media. What is the broad analysis and the more detailed analysis that The Nation is making?
Well, let me just step back for a moment, because Donald Trump released sort of a blueprint, the shock and not much all budget plan today. And my colleague John Nichols has a piece up at thenation.com about how the plans to savage public broadcasting are really going to hurt Trump voters. I mean, we think about public media, you think of maybe Los Angeles, New York, but it's the rural communities in this country which there's a financial lifeline to these stations and offering real news. So the Nation's special issue is predicated on the fact that we are at a perilous moment for the media. I mean, we have a president who's calling the media enemies of the people. We have structural challenges, newsrooms being hollowed out, FCC commissioner trying to undermine affordable broadband, green light media consolidation, gut media democracy via the net neutrality provisions. And we got to do better wherever you are on the political spectrum. The Nation issue argues we got to do better as a media covering President Donald Trump than we did candidate Donald Trump, because your show, Tom, has spoken, you've spoken eloquently about how Trump played the media like a Stradivarius, saw media malpractice in the kind of unfiltered, rah-rah coverage of Trump as spectacle. We didn't really learn enough about the issues. And I understand a lot of our politics today has to be emotional and connect, but we need to learn more about the politics of this country. So our special issue is devoted to really thinking hard about how media covers President Trump, covers this moment, and does so in a way to regain the trust of a public that has, in a way, I would say primarily from a corporate media that has treated politics as a spectacle rather than as bringing people in as participants, which you try to do.
Yeah, but there are no real structural changes that are being proposed right now. I mean, like let's revisit the fairness doctrine. Let's break up some of these giant media companies. You know, the conservatives give all this lip service to competition, but the fact of the matter is that in the media landscape in America, there is so little competition that if you're channel surfing just the three cable networks, Fox, MSNBC, and CNN, they all go to commercials at the same time. Just like the airlines, you know, if any of them changes a fare within, 3 hours, every other airline has changed the fare. They're operating as monopolies.
They're operating as monopolies. Privatization, deregulation are the paradigm. And progressives and Democrats, I think, need to step up and speak out more boldly, lay out more boldly a trust-busting agenda and structural changes to the media. The nation issue does something different, though over the many, many years, John Nichols, the special series we launched in 1996 on the national entertainment state, we've really laid out structural changes that would level the playing field, make small local media have more powerful. This issue is also laying out how independent progressive media could form infrastructure independent of power, not complicit with power, but to be more powerful than the sum of its parts. Because you look at the right-wing media infrastructure and how it's moved the goalposts in this country, I think, in toxic ways, so that we are playing on a field of privatization, of deregulation. I think an independent media infrastructure would change the playing field, not necessarily structurally, but if you think about media, its greatest power is to define reality, and that means whose voices are heard, what stories are covered. I think independent media punches above its class weight. Think of Amy Goodman at Standing Rock and how that was leveraged into demanding corporate media cover it. The Nation, Mother Jones investigation into private prisons over the last years led the Department of Justice to close private prisons. They're now reopened, so we need to step up our game and begin that work again. But I think there's a role for an independent progressive media infrastructure to report honestly, independently, boldly, fearlessly, and with the public interest in mind, with accountability for those in power, whatever party, whatever partisanship, corporate, political. Those are the criteria by which we should move forward.
Yeah, I have colleagues who are right-wing talk show hosts who I've gotten to know over the years, and on occasion traveled someplace with, and I was amazed to hear from one of them in particular that I've actually gotten to know quite well over the years, that and he's not. Well, actually, Ken Vogel did a piece about this over on Politico about a year and a half ago, about how Limbaugh gets $4 or $5 million a year in direct subsidies from big right-wing think tanks. Hannity, it's a couple $1 million a year, in a descending order based on ratings. Well, this guy was kind of a B level. He was on a bunch of stations around the country, but they're all smaller stations. Because there's the A team of conservatives, and then there's the B team, and there's even a C team, actually, because there's so many conservative stations in the country. And he pointed out to me that not only does he get a paycheck for doing the show, but that all he has to do is show up at any kind of conservative event and give a 5-minute speech, and he gets a $10,000 to $20,000 honorarium. If he writes a book, he's guaranteed that they'll buy enough copies to make it a New York Times bestseller. Whenever he goes on any other media, if he comes on my program, there's foundations that'll write him checks from $1,000 to $10,000. Right-wing talk show hosts who are making like a $60,000 or $80,000 salary as a right-wing talk show host in this B level are making an additional $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in these additional fees. There is no such infrastructure on the left. I get a penny from nobody. I'm not saying that we should sell out the way the conservatives have, but this reality has not penetrated people's minds.
No, and I agree with you. It's not about being mortgaged to some playbook, and I do think a lot of the right wing is. I think it's about sustaining and nurturing an infrastructure, a media infrastructure, where people can do their work knowing they will be sustained. So that's part of what, we're looking at, and we're calling on people. A decade or more ago, Bill Moyers and a few others looked at, starting a cable channel. Now, MSNBC arose. We could spend some time talking about that, but a truly progressive, independent media cable station would be very powerful, I think. But, what we've seen on the right is, former FCC Commissioner Michael Copps, who I'm sure has been on your show, once said, your second issue, your first issue can be inequality or war and peace, but your second issue better be, media democracy.
Yeah.
Because that's how people get their news. And we have seen, and our special issue goes into this, the kind of corrosion and distortion of our politics and political debate and discussion by moving it rightward and rightward and rightward because of this right-wing media infrastructure, which, by the way, this BS about being fair and balanced. It's not. It's about being accurate. It's about being honest about where you stand or sit, but disclosing and being clear about your values while being rigorous about facts and verifiable data. There's a strong piece in the special issue by a man who was editor of South African newspaper in tough authoritarian times, who talks about the danger of this sort of false equivalence or neutrality and the importance of jettisoning this kind of Olympian neutrality, not jettisoning accuracy, but also giving up on this access, pay to play almost in the media. I think some of these anchors the right wing is doing a lot of pay to play right now. Mm-hmm. Independence is vital. But so, as you said, Tom, are people in a progressive community who are funding other things, understanding the importance of media as part of our ecosystem, as part of what shapes beliefs and ideas in this country.
Yeah, and I'm not standing around with my hand out. We're one of the more successful programs on the progressive side, thank God. But
let's be honest, we all, I think, punch above our weight class because we don't have the resources. Now, maybe that makes us more innovative, more imaginative, but it is it's often a struggle, and one wants to see younger generation come in and be part of this ecosystem. And I think. We're doing a conference, by the way, next week with 60 students from around the country on how to cover movements, how to cover this movement moment. And we're going to bring some of the best nation journalists to talk about it. And these are students who are really engaged, who applied. We had 400 applications. But I think it's about also seeding a new generation to think critically minded, to be independent, to be imaginative, and to challenge the kind of policing of the parameters of our debate, which you and I have talked a lot about. When the healthcare, the sort of, I don't know what to call it, Trump care, or you call it, Tom, chump care.
Yeah.
When that was rolled out, you got a lot of criticism. The CBO numbers are horrifying, but you didn't get enough discussion of why maybe this country would benefit from Medicare for all, why we should expand that, why it's more cost effective and build on Obamacare's cost saving. Because, we're like an outlier in the Western industrialized world. So I think it's those kinds of ideas to be part of our debate, that those have been shoved out in fundamental ways because of this right-wingization of our politics and media debate.
Yeah, very, very well said. Katrina vanden Heuvel, the editor and publisher of The Nation magazine. You can read all about it at thenation.com. And if you don't have a subscription to The Nation, you need to get one right now. It is extraordinary. Katrina, thank you so much for being with us. Great talking with you. And you can tweet Katrina at Katrina Nation. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more right after this. Stick around. And welcome back. Charles, watching Free Speech TV in Aurora, Colorado. Hey, Charles, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air, Charles. What's up?
Hey, I just want to speak about health care. I'm someone who, for the last 15 years, has battled chronic Lyme disease and gotten in and out of wheelchairs, asked for some assistance, not gotten much, back to work. And But the last 2 years gotten so sick I couldn't work again, and it took me up until about a year ago to get back on Medicaid on something and start getting some stuff done with myself. Now to have, well, my future looks pretty grim.
Yeah. And this is all because of relapsing Lyme disease?
It's called chronic Lyme disease. I got Lyme disease, and at first it wasn't, they didn't understand what I was sick with, so honestly it took a year and a half before I was started to be treated for.
Oh, and by that time the spirochetes had buried themselves deep enough in you that they couldn't be killed with antibiotics, right?
That's like actually in the last 2 weeks, because I've been trying to get into federal programs through the National Health Institute in Baltimore to be able to go out there, which their funding could be something that could be cut, more than likely in things. As I do studies, I've even recently, in the last 2 weeks, come up positive for spirochetes again.
Yeah.
And I've been treated several times for it over the last 15 years. And I'm back to a point where I used to be an artisan bread baker in Denver, at times considered one of the top 5. And now I can't even stand for an hour long unless I actually use my hands without dropping things.
Amazing. Charles, I'm so sorry to hear that. A couple of our best friends up in Vermont have the same problem.
We all have those things that go on in life, and, it's just now, yes, it will become, once again, which at one time it was for me, a major financial burden on my family. I'll be one of those first in the next year who they got 25% because they do that with metals. It's like, the old, the ship is sinking, and I understand that. And if it's between me and the child getting medical care, let that, I'll say that I'm 50 old and I've lived.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I also have to think about my wife and the kids and what financial burden it will be, already puts on my family because my wife has to work, instead of me, contributing to the family. Because, I applied for, Social Security on those people who, well, I'm on the list, will still, I've been denied, but, fulfilled and such and stuff. So, I don't get to contribute anymore. It at times, yes, a burden on the family. Now, with these cuts, I'll be even more of a burden on my family.
This is I know so many people whose lives have been shattered by Lyme disease. This is a national disaster. I mean, a lot more people are having their lives destroyed or being killed by Lyme disease than by terrorism. And Trump wants to cut money to the National Institutes of Health and increase money to the Pentagon. I don't get it. Charles, I wish you the very best with your condition. Thank you for calling and sharing your story with us. I'm so sorry to hear what a burden this has been to you and your family. Good luck. We'll be right back. Stick around.
On April 15th,
hey, Thom Hartmann here with the Thom Hartmann Program.
This year's election results have generated fear, sadness, and despair.
In the days and months ahead,
our democracy may face a crisis of historic proportions.
But there is good news.
There is good news.
There is good news. Thousands of people are stepping forward in solidarity, resistance,
and resolve.
We join them.
We join them.
We join them.
In standing with the most vulnerable communities among us.
Those most likely to be targeted by new restrictions and policies.
We will tell their stories here.
Here
on Free Speech TV.
We will lift their voices here
on Free Speech TV.
In the difficult times ahead, know that we will be with you 24 hours a day.
Every day.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
There are millions of us.
Raising our voices and hearts together as one.
We've got your back.
We got your back.
Free Speech TV's got your back.
The revolution is in progress.
And Johnny in Lamarck, Texas. Hey, Johnny, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, you made a comment earlier about marijuana use versus alcohol, and I can tell you from my time serving. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
I can say from my time serving in my community fire department during both Ronald Reagan administrations, we did an average of 600 calls per year, and a significant majority of them were first out medical, and I served as both a pump and ladder and an EMT. And I can tell you, of all the scenes we made, car wreck scenes, not once have I ever smelt any indication of marijuana on anybody involved. But I always saw either beer cans or bottles of alcohol, liquor and stuff in the car, outside the car, in the ditch. Always alcohol involved, never pot.
Right. So more evidence that pot's not killing us, booze is.
Yeah. Hey, one other comment before I hang up.
Mm-hmm.
In connection to Ms. Vanden Heuvel, our Pacifica radio station here in Houston, our annual budget is $1,314,000, and I divided that by 100 million American adults. That comes out to less than 2 cents per adult per year to support our radio station. If you just simply double that, we would have an ample budget to operate our radio station without having to constantly count pennies.
Yeah.
And imagine that by 5 to support 5 outlets, including Pacifica. Including Free Speech TV. Yep. We would have a great media outlet interface for the American people. But instead, we spend our money ridiculously on stupid stuff.
Yep. Agreed. Johnny, thanks for the call. Lynn in Merritt Island, Florida. Hey, Lynn, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, how you doing? Real quick. I just got a bone to pick with some of my union brothers and sisters who voted for Trump. I have a problem with Richard Trumka and some of these other head of unions going to meet with Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a disgrace that any of my union brothers and sisters that voted for Trump, just because they felt that Hillary and Barack Obama would take away their guns and bullets. How is that going to feel when you're going to have to go out and actually hunt your food for real and eat everything that you kill?
Yep.
It amazes me that Trump, who is a union killing type of guy, and his whole industry and his whole cabinet wants to just get rid of unions. And we got, I got union brothers and sisters because of their ignorance going out and went out and voted for this guy. That's why he won the election.
Right. And this
union people went out and voted for him. And Richard Trumka and some of these other heads of unions, meeting this guy at the White House, sitting down with him for a photo op, it sickens me because they're not true patriots. They don't love this country. They're not for the working men and women.
Well, actually, I think, Lynn, most of them are. And let's keep in mind, Donald Trump is trying to bust a union in his own hotel in Las Vegas. The union was certified about 3 months before the election, and Trump refused to acknowledge it and continues to refuse to acknowledge it. That's something that everybody should be pointing to. That's something the media should be talking about. Unfortunately, they don't. They're just so into, we've got to jack our ratings up. We got to make money for the executives in the corner offices. We got to get that, those dividends out to the stockholders. So if Donald Trump draws eyeballs, that makes more money for the network. So we're going to put Donald Trump on. And that's how Donald Trump became president. And that's how he's going on. It's bizarre that our media is being played like this. Lynn, thank you for the call. And I get that you're upset with your union leaders for showing up and trying to lobby the president. I think that they were, in good faith trying to say something important. And frankly, Trump is not going to pay attention to them. Arguably, they should have known that. But anyhow, we'll be right back. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
28 minutes past the hour. Back with more of your calls right after this. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And hey, yesterday was great. I've been telling you we need to hit $10,000 a day, and we were $4,000 on Monday, $6,000 on Tuesday. Yesterday we raised $13,000. So we're getting back on track. And I so appreciate those of you who have called in the last couple of days. And I know that there are many of us, many of you, and part of the, I watch Free Speech TV too. Many of us who've not yet made a contribution. And we've got another 2.5 weeks here. We're trying to hit $10,000 a day. And we did it yesterday. And we need to do it every day. So if you have not called yet, please call 877-378-8669 and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Any amount is extraordinarily helpful. You are the power supply for this network. You are literally the electrons that are coming to your TV, or photons, or however they're getting there, that are coming to your TV that you're seeing right now, are paid for by viewers like you. And it's really kind of an amazing thing when you think about it. A television network supported by its viewers. I mean, really supported by its viewers. Not like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, you got, hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to start up. This network got nothing from anybody to start up. It was just a couple of people who said, hey, why don't we do this? And they did. And here it is. And they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's basically, you're the boss. So feel free when you call, by the way, to tell the folks at Free Speech TV what you think of the network, what you think of the programming, and, if you have ideas or suggestions for other things, because, this is a great opportunity. This, 3 or 4 times a year that we do these fundraising drives, it's a great opportunity for them to hear from you about what you care about. Now, if you make a contribution today of $60 and you mention our show, you can get the Free Speech TV water bottle. If you make a contribution of $120 today, and you mention our show, then a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through the New America, is available to you. That's with the $120 gift. And, again, most of these are divisible by 12. In other words, $120 can become a $10 a month commitment. With a $150 gift, you get The Revolution Where You Live DVD and The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. And this is something that this is really great. With a $240 gift, or $20 a month, you get The Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, the Free Speech TV water bottle, a Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat. Take that, great, Make America Great hats. And the Free Speech TV hand fan and the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, all kinds of goodies. And if you can afford to give $1,000 to Free Speech TV and you have any inclination to come to Washington, D.C., the District of the Goddess, the District of Columbia here, and have lunch with me, then that's available to you with a $1,000 gift. So those are the premium levels, the goodies. But the important thing is to become an active and supporting member of Free Speech TV. This is such a critical time in American history right now. There's no other way to say it. We have Donald Trump is really, truly anomalous. We have never had a president before who had no military or government experience whatsoever. He literally was clueless about what he was walking into. And it's showing. It's showing all over the place. It's showing in unstaffed departments. It's showing in wild budget cuts he wants to make. He has obviously no connection to average people. Killing off Meals on Wheels, really? And they're all going on this meme that the billionaires have been pushing out for years and years that, oh, well, churches and private charities will take care of that. Churches and private charities gave $5 billion last year in total for the kind of programs that the government does. It's nothing. It's nothing close to the need and demand. There's no way that the needs in this country, which are so great because the billionaires have been taking so much. We've seen the $7 trillion transfer of wealth since the 80s from the working class to the billionaire class. And it's just astonishing, what the Trumpsters are up to. And nobody's speaking back to them in anything other than just these inane kind of bumper sticker, is he popular or not kind of stuff, not at the level of detail, not at the level of policy. I mean, where do you learn the real facts of what's going on? Right here on Free Speech TV. Is that worth $10 to you? Is it worth $50, $100? for the year for this one fund drive? You know, a pizza a month? I mean, please call now, 877-378-8669, and help us help keep Free Speech TV going. We really need your help. 877-378-8669. Thank you so much.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We cover and the issues we care about are at hartmanreport.com. Members of our community can comment and join the conversation.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Don in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Don, what's on your mind today?
Good afternoon, Tom. Interesting you took my call after that last guy about the unions. I'm a former PATCO controller.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I managed to go back to work for a couple of months. Then they fired me again. But I did find out while I was back there, most of those guys now in the new union are all Republicans. I couldn't believe it. But
yeah, what a surprise.
Like one of my supervisors used to say, they finally paid them enough that they could become a Republican.
Yeah.
Anyway, the main reason I'm calling you was I noticed this morning's paper said the New Mexico legislature is in session right now. And it said the legislature has voted to rescind New Mexico's decades-old application for a convention to amend the U.S. Constitution.
Oh, that's good news.
State House voted to take back the application last month, and the Senate on Wednesday agreed, and the governor's signature is not needed.
Wow. So they're back down to the number of states in the teens rather than in the 20s that they need.
Yeah, whatever.
Or that they have, rather.
They just lost one more.
Fascinating.
And if it had, I'm hoping that I sometimes don't believe a lot of what I read in the Albuquerque Journal, but hopefully this is correct about the governor's signature not needed because.
Right. No, it's not. It's the constitutional. The Article 5 of the Constitution saes that 2/3 of the state's legislatures and three need to agree to call the convention, and 3/4 of the state's legislatures, and that's 32 states and 38 states, if my memory is correct. 3/4 of the state's legislatures have to ratify the final product for it to become an amendment to the Constitution. But no governors are necessary. The president's not necessary. The United States Congress is not necessary. This can be done entirely from the states up. And that's how Move to Amend is trying to do one single amendment. And that's the right way to do it. You say, okay, here's an amendment. It says very simply, corporations are not people, money is not speech. What it does is it's very targetedly rolls back a series of Supreme Court decisions from Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad in 1886 all the way to McCutcheon in 2013. And it simply, rolls those back and takes American law back to where it was before the Supreme Court interfered. That's the right way to do it. But calling a convention and opening the entire Constitution up for tinkering, that's one very damn dangerous thing to be doing. Don, thanks a lot for the call and for the good news. That's great to hear. Tom in Bridgeview, Illinois. Hey, Tom, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Good. What's up?
I just want to say I'm a first-time caller. Love listening to you and really appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Reason I'm calling was I wasn't aware if I listened to you a lot, but I don't know if you talked about H.R. 1313, this bill to remove the protection under the Genetic Information Non-Disclosure Act.
Yeah, we did this about a week or so ago, and just so that employers can now get your genetic information, which tells them a lot. In particular, it tells them what your health care expenses are going to be like coming up, and they may even be able to sell that information.
Yeah, and my understanding is they can also have deep inquiries into your family, relatives, all their information, genetic testing, and I'm a proud card-carrying member of the ACLU and have been for 30-some years, and I find this incredible intrusion in our freedoms, and I didn't know if people were aware of it, and this seems to be the kind of stuff they're sneaking through while they're distracting us with tax returns and all the other stuff. So.
Yep. Totally agree, Tom. Totally agree. And I think this legislation, which is now popping up in state after state, is absolutely perfidious, and also at the federal level. It we need to have some level of privacy, and we need to strengthen those privacy protections, not weaken them. I mean, even HIPAA made it legal for your doctor to sell your information. It's if you sign off on it, which they're all pretty much requiring you to do, which is pretty bizarre. Tom, thank you for the call. Well said. Terrell in Denver. Hey, Terrell, what's up?
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind?
I really think this presidency is pretty much kind of a compound fracture that's going to be fracturing our economy. I mean, I'm sorry, not our economy, but our government from here on forward. I mean, this is just the beginning. I mean, what does it say for the next Republican administration that's going to go even further than this guy? Because the media is pretty much normalizing everything that he does, and it's pretty much changing the consciousness of most of the people within our country that this is actually okay.
Yeah, I agree. And they're constantly normalizing Trump, and he's not normal. What he is doing is not normal. And, we need to point that out. Terrell, thank you. Very well said. Bob in Waynesville, North Carolina. Bob, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I wanted to speak a little bit on the cuts to the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
That alone is pretty devastating, but at the same time, they want to make these cuts or even eliminate the EPA. They want to allow poisoning of our waters, our streams, take the funding away from the Great Lakes, and we're poisoning our oceans with oil spills, Fukushima. The majority of our photosynthesis occurs within our clean water, our fresh water, and salt water.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not only wanting to put more carbon into the atmosphere, we want to eliminate the plants, microscopic plants, that take that carbon out of the air and create oxygen in the process.
Right, at the bottom of the food chain, no less.
Right. So we're just, if we go through 8 years of this, we may be at a point of no return to what we did to our environment.
I think you're right, and I think even 4 years could do consequential damage, and will do. I mean, we'll see what this, how well Democrats can hold the line on this kind of stuff in the Senate, because that's basically the only place that they can do anything. But this is grim stuff.
Inhofe tweeted this morning saying that the EPA is brainwashing our children.
Right.
I mean, that's so sick, and they don't really care about our kids, or they wouldn't be willing to destroy the planet the kids are going to have to live on when we're all gone. And
yeah, well, this is, Inhofe is a tool of the fossil fuel industry, has been for a long time. You can, opensecrets.org, you can look it up. And, they pay for the tune, and he dances to it, and along with a lot of other Republicans. Bob, thanks for the call. Well said. Michael in Imperial Beach, California. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Hey, Mr. Hartman. Okay, quick question. About your previous conversation with Victoria Jones about Yucca Mountain.
Yeah.
Yucca Mountain cost the United States government $96 billion to build. So how can our government justify spending $1/10 of $1 trillion to build something that they are never going to use?
Has it already been built, Michael?
Oh, Yucca Mountain?
Yeah.
Oh, that hole was there, man. I mean, that was supposed to be there for the nuclear waste. But now, because of political resistance, whatever,
right.
now it's like irrelevant. So we spent $1/10 of $1 trillion to build this thing, and now it's never going to be used? That's crazy, man.
Well, I think the spending is crazy. I think the idea of consolidating nuclear waste from all over the country in one spot, where a real disaster could happen, is also crazy. We need to shut down all the nuclear power plants in the United States and go to a nuclear-free energy system. This just as Germany is doing. By 2026, I think it is, they're going to have all their nuclear power plants closed. They with the 100,000 rooftops program, which turned into millions of rooftops, they were able to do away with the need for building 2 new nuclear power plants. And now they're generating electricity equal to about 12 nuclear power plants right now, just on people's rooftops. Michael, thank you for the call. We need to follow them. We need to follow them as an example. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls right after this. Stick around.
And welcome back. Paul in Fairport, New York. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV, by the way.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Tom, first of all, I'd like to get a couple plugs in, but before that, since Trump is so harped on fake news, why don't we get him to put the fairness doctrine back in?
Yeah, you would think. But see that,
right?
It's perfect. It's the perfect riposte. It's the perfect, comeback. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Interesting observation. I'd like everybody to go to trinology.com. It's spelled TRIKNOWLOGY.com. And also, I'd like to put a plug in for Local 13 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters in Rochester, New York.
Okay. You just did.
All right.
What is trinology?
Oh, well, it's a study of triincidences, such as time as past, present, and future. The atom is proton, electron, neutron. Many. Primordial triincidence would be time, space, and consciousness. Our dimensions are horizontal, vertical, and depth, and on and on. It's very interesting.
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
On it.
It's
yeah, exactly. That's one of them.
Yeah, fascinating.
Mind, body, spirit. Sure.
So
acceleration, force, mass, classic physics.
Wow. So everything in nature, this is sort of like fractals, which constantly reappear in nature. You're suggesting that in nature there's that 3 is the magic number.
Absolutely. I think everything is a combination of 3 things that combine to become one. Just like, let's say, mother, father, child makes a family.
Fantastic. That's fascinating. I'll have to check it out. Paul, the website again, TRI Knowledge again?
Yes, exactly. TRIKNOWLOGY.com.
Trinology. Okay, great. Paul, thank you for that. I'll have to check it out. Right. Appreciate the call. Sam in Sheridan, Oregon. Hey, Sam, what's up? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Hey, how you doing, guy?
Good.
Hey, I got this thing going on. I'm 61 years of age, and if it wasn't for Obamacare or Oregon health care or Oregon medical care, I would have lost my home. I mean, the hospital bills alone are horribly frightening. If it wasn't for Obamacare, I would have never been able to pay for my hospital bills, and they would have put liens against my home, I'm afraid. They would have put liens against my bank account, and they would have put liens against my car just to recover their money for the hospital care I would have needed. And it quite literally means one hospital bill from absolute bankruptcy.
Right. As is more than half of America. And, this is a terrible situation. Over 600,000 people in the United States declared bankruptcy last year just because somebody got sick. The number of people who declared bankruptcy in Canada because somebody got sick, 0. And that's with the Affordable Care Act. Of course, it doesn't include, in red states, they didn't expand the Medicaid to include working people in the red states. So, there's still hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people who have no coverage. But Sam, thanks for the eloquent testimonial. It's very, very well said and spot on. We really need a social safety net in this country. Thank you, Sam. I wish you the very best. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Martha in Port Charlotte, Florida. Hey, Martha, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. This is my first time being on your show.
Well, thank you.
I'm really scared with Trump in office. I mean, he's following Hitler's program to the T. And he even said this, I love the uneducated. What we've got to do, I'm 73, and I have a heart problem, but I do get on the computer and stuff and try to, tell people, what he's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, it just really upsets me for my grandkids.
Yeah.
And what he is doing, he goes after the uneducated, tricking them into voting against themselves. That's my opinion, okay? Mm-hmm. But everybody's saying this, 4 years of him. I don't think that we can take 4 years of him. Yeah. He lies. Nobody is doing anything against his lies. He can get on there and call our ex-president, and still the uneducated believe him.
Yeah.
Uneducated about politics and stuff is what I mean.
Yep.
And I watched his rally last night. I watched the people behind him. That's, and we need to get our congressmen. I call mine all the time to tell them to get town hall meetings and tell the people they're going to have to march against this.
Yeah. Yeah. And those people, I watched part of that last night too, and just cringed. Those people are not just uneducated or uninformed, Martha. They are malinformed. This is what happens when you watch Fox News or you listen to right-wing hate radio, is you end up believing things that aren't even true. For years and years, these people believed that Barack Obama was not born in the United States. They believed he was a secret Muslim. He was a secret socialist, that Obamacare was some kind of socialist program, when in fact it was the Republican health care plan that was rolled out in '72, that was cleaned up by the Heritage Foundation in '86, that was rolled out by Mitt Romney in 2000. The reality, the literal reality that Obamacare was the Republican health care program, whereas the Democratic health care program from Harry Truman forward had always been single payer. That reality is never even shows up in any of the discussion, frankly, in all of our media, but particularly over on Fox so-called news. And that's the well that he is fishing in. And those poor people, it's why I'm calling his health care proposals chump care, because he is turning these people into chumps. These people who voted for him and who, Fox is always going to protect him, as they will any Republican. But people need to learn what's actually going on. And that means going on a fasting diet with Fox so-called news and right-wing hate radio.
Right. I tell my family that all the time. You can't listen to Fox. They egg things on, just like with that Boston.
Yeah, it is a cult. It is an absolute cult. Yep. Martha, I got to move along, but thank you for your call and your contribution, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV. Carol in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Hey, Carol, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Oh, I've been dying to talk to you. I tried to get through when the congressman was on, and I have a question. I really don't know if he would have answered it, but Citizens United aside, how can we get money, period, out of politics and make the people that come to work for us do it because they want to do something for their country, their community, their citizens, besides take money from special interest groups and lobbyists?
In 1973, after the Nixon scandals and the Church Committee reports and all this kind of stuff, Congress passed a series of very comprehensive election reforms that limited the ability of very wealthy people to influence elections, that radically limited the ability of corporations to influence elections, and that took a lot of the power of money out of elections. That was passed in '73. Those laws were overturned in 1976 by the U.S. Supreme Court in a decision called Buckley versus Vallejo. And in that decision, Lewis Powell, who wrote the decision, he had, back in '71, you'll recall, written a memo to the Chamber of Commerce saying, American business needs to get politically active. We're facing an existential threat in the form of the environmental movement and the consumer movement, led by Rachel Carlson and Ralph Nader, respectively, who both had New York Times best-selling books in the previous decade, Silent Spring and Unsafe at Any Speed. And, so Powell said, we've got to take over government, we've got to take over the judiciary, we've got to take over the media, we've got to do all these things, right? And he, in '76, when the Supreme Court says something is in the Constitution or not in the Constitution, that's what it is. From the George Washington administration up until 1976, giving money to politicians or using money to influence political outcomes was considered a behavior that could be regulated by Congress. In '76, the Supreme Court said to Congress, you may no longer regulate this because giving money to politicians is now actually considered free speech under the First Amendment. And then in '78, in a case called First National Bank versus Bellotti, where the Bellotti was the Attorney General of Massachusetts, And Massachusetts had a law that said that corporations could not engage in political activity unless it directly affected that corporation. And the First National Bank had been supporting a campaign that was against abortion. And he said, this has got nothing to do with banking. And this went to the Supreme Court in 78. In 78, in First National Bank versus Bellotti, that case was decided again by Lewis Powell and his buddies on the court. Then they said that the 76 ruling applies not only to billionaires, it also applies to corporations. So corporations giving money to politicians is considered free speech. And then in 2010, in Citizens United, they brought these two things together and amplified them and added a new rationale for it, which was that to limit corporate free speech, we are limiting the speech of those players in our economy who are most well informed about how the economy works, and thus we are depriving all of us of the freedom to hear speech. Right? Which is a bizarre, turning the universe upside down. So the only way to reverse this, now that the Supreme Court has ruled this, and it's been reaffirmed multiple times, McCutcheon, again, they reaffirmed it. The only way to do this is to amend the Constitution. Well, there's two ways, three ways, arguably. Number one, you amend the Constitution to say money's not speech and corporations aren't people. And that is moving. If you go to movetoamend.org, they have groups all over the country who are moving this constitutional amendment up through the states via Article 5. So that's happening. The second way it could be done is Congress could actually pass a law overturning what the Supreme Court said. It's only been done once before, but they could do it. It's Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution puts the Supreme Court under regulations enacted by Congress. But I do not expect Congress to do this. And the number three way that this could be done is that the composition of the court could change, and the Supreme Court could revisit their own decisions in 76, 78, 2010, 2013. But that's extremely unlikely, particularly with Neil Gorsuch headed to the court. He has his own personal billionaire who has overseen his entire career. The New York Times has a great story about it this week. It's titled Neil Gorsuch Has Web of Ties to Secretive Billionaire by Charlie Savage and Julie Turkowitz. And it was published day before yesterday. So that's the situation, Carol. How are we doing on time, Troy? 1 minute. We got 1 minute. Carol, I gotta run. Thank you for the call. Connie in Naperville, Illinois. You've got the last minute of the show, Connie. What's up?
Okay, that's pretty good. Thank you. Thanks for taking my call. What I'm calling about, I believe that the most, and I'd like your input in this too, because I think you're brilliant. But I believe that getting to the point of Trump releasing his taxes is the most important thing, because it's going to lead to getting rid of him.
It could. I mean, Congress has the ability to subpoena his taxes from the IRS. They don't even need Trump's permission. It's just that they're unwilling to do it because it's a Republican-controlled Congress. But there are individual committees in the House of Representatives that can subpoena somebody's tax returns. That was they tried this against Richard Nixon. He refused. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled on the side of Congress. So, there are ways that this can be done, and public opinion is another one. But if we find that he's been lying to us about his wealth, or he's been lying to us about his connections to foreign countries. The specific bugaboo right now is Russia, but there's lots of others that could be just as problematic. Connie, it's a possibility. But then we're stuck with Mike Pence, and I'm not sure that that's that much of an improvement. But at least with regard to nuclear issues, it might be. And then plus we would probably get Steve Bannon out of the White House. Don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us to participate. So get out there, get active, tag, you're it. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com.